Be honest, how many times today have you shaken a rattle, made a ridiculous face, or sung the wheels on the bus just to keep your baby entertained? If you are a modern parent, you probably feel less like a mom or dad and more like a full-time, unpaid cruise ship entertainment director. You are exhausted, but you keep doing it because the second your baby stops playing, the second they just stare blankly at a wall, a little voice of panic goes off in your head. Oh no, they're bored. They're understimulated. I am failing their brain development. Quick, show them a high contrast flashcard. We live in a culture that has convinced us that a good parent is an active parent. We've been sold a lie by a multi-billion-dollar toy industry that says your baby's brain is an empty bucket, and it is your job to constantly fill it with colors, sounds, and activities 24/7. But I need you to hear this loud and clear. Every time you rush in to rescue your baby from boredom, you are accidentally hitting the reset button on one of the most critical stages of their neurological development. Developmental neuroscientists are actually begging modern parents to do something that feels completely unnatural. Put the toy down, step back, and let them be bored. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the hidden, fascinating neuroscience of what happens inside an infant's brain when they are doing absolutely nothing. I am going to show you why your constant entertainment might actually be causing their meltdowns, what the default mode network is, and how stepping back and doing less is actually the ultimate parenting hack to build a genius brain. Grab a coffee, sit back, and let's free you from your parenting guilt. To understand why we feel so guilty about bored babies, we have to look at where this anxiety came from. In the late 1990s, the media exploded with a concept called the Mozart effect. It sold parents the idea that playing classical music and flashing high-contrast academic cards at newborns would literally wire their brains for genius. An entire multi-billion-dollar industry was born overnight, selling the idea that an infant's brain is a sponge. The logic seems simple. A sponge needs water. The more, the more stimulation, colors, sounds, and active teaching you pour onto it, the better the brain gets. But here is the biological flaw in the sponge metaphor. Yes, a baby's brain is highly absorbent, but what happens when a sponge is completely saturated? If you keep pouring water onto a full sponge, it doesn't absorb more. It just floods. It spills over. It makes a mess. And in the context of an infant's nervous system, that spillover looks like a massive, inconsolable meltdown. Let's look inside the brain when you're actively entertaining your child. When you shake a rattle, sing a song, or turn on a brightly colored toy, your baby's brain activates the Task Positive Network, TPN. This network is externally focused. It is processing the bright red color of the toy, the sharp sound of the rattle, and the complex changing expressions on your face. It is incredible that they can do this, but we forget one crucial fact. Processing external data is exhausting. It requires a massive amount of glucose and cognitive energy. Imagine you are trying to learn a complex new software program, and someone is standing next to you loudly singing, flashing lights in your eyes, and constantly handing you new tools. You wouldn't learn faster, you would panic. When we entertain our babies 24/7, we keep their task-positive network turned on all day. The brain becomes overwhelmed. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, starts flashing red. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods their tiny system. Often, when a baby starts getting fussy and rubbing their eyes, parents panic and think, "Ugh, they're bored, let me try a different, louder toy." But what the baby is actually screaming is, "My sponge is full. Please turn the world off so I can process what just happened." This brings us to the most magical, hidden mechanism in human neurology, the default mode network, or DMN. The DMN is the brain's background processing state. It is the absolute opposite of the task-positive network. It only activates when the outside world gets quiet, when we stop focusing on external tasks, and when we are left alone with our own minds. In other words, the DMN turns on when we are bored. So, what is the infant brain doing when it looks like it's doing absolutely nothing? It is doing the heavy lifting of development. When your baby is lying quietly on a playmat, just staring at a ceiling fan, the DMN is rapidly firing. It is doing three critical things. Memory consolidation. It is taking all the chaotic sights and sounds you showed them earlier and physically filing them away into long-term memory. Synaptic pruning. It is cleaning up inefficient neural pathways, optimizing the brain to run faster and smoother. Self-awareness. It is beginning to map out the concept of self. This is when the brain realizes, I am a separate entity from my mother. That hand waving in the air is my hand. This state of quiet boredom is the exact required environment for neurogenesis, the literal growth of new neurons. By constantly interrupting their boredom with a toy, you are repeatedly pulling the plug on their brain's most important background update.
So, what does this highly productive boredom actually look like at different stages? Because to an adult, it looks incredibly dull. Take a 0 to 3 month old. You might find them staring blankly at a blank wall or a shadow for 20 minutes. They aren't zoned out. Their visual cortex is running complex physics simulations, trying to calculate where edges begin and end, and how light changes across a surface. Around 4 to 6 months, they might spend half an hour just opening and closing their own fist or staring at their toes. To us, it's boring. But to their brain, they are drawing a highly detailed 3D topographical map of their physical body, a process called proprioception. By 7 to 12 months, boredom often looks like repetition, banging a wooden block against the floor, dropping a spoon from a high chair over and over again. They aren't trying to annoy you. They are tiny scientists conducting rigorous experiments on gravity, acoustic resonance, and cause and effect. In an adult's eyes, doing nothing is a waste of time. In an infant's eyes, doing nothing is a masterclass in physics, biology, and self-discovery. Now that you know the science, how do you actually apply this? How do you stop being the 24/7 entertainer? Child development experts, particularly those practicing the RIE, Resources for Infant Educators, suggest a simple protocol, the rule of the pause. The next time your baby wakes up, is fed, has a clean diaper, and is just lying there, do not immediately rush in with a toy. Stop. Take a breath, step back, and just observe. Create a yes space, a completely safe area on the floor where they cannot get hurt. Lay them down on their back. Do not prop them up. Do not surround them with flashing, noisy plastic. Put maybe 1 or 2 simple passive objects nearby, like a soft cloth or a wooden ring. And then, wait. Let them decide where to look. Let them decide what is interesting. If they grunt or make a noise, you don't have to fix it. Just acknowledge them. I hear you working hard. You are transitioning from being their entertainer to being their quiet anchor. You are giving them the ultimate gift, the space to exist without an audience demanding a reaction. Parenting is exhausting enough without the added pressure of feeling like you must constantly perform. Being a slightly lazy parent who doesn't entertain their baby every waking second is not neglect. It is advanced neuroscience in action. By allowing your child to experience boredom, you are fostering a brain that is more focused, more creative, more emotionally resilient, and capable of independent thought. So tomorrow morning, when your baby is quietly staring at the ceiling fan, grab your coffee, sit down, take a sip, and smile. You are doing a fantastic job, precisely by doing nothing at all. If this video finally relieved some of your parenting guilt, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend who desperately needs permission to put the rattle down. Until next time, let them be bored.